Hello, hello. Fede Bazokala. Just like a good friend of mine. Uthi amadada adute damini. Fede Bazokala, cry me tears, tears forever. It's your boy again, Lungile. Coming to you live from the East End. Oh my God. Many of you are probably surprised today that I'm starting this part of our show with the music in the background, and some of you might probably recognize this. This is my way of actually sending a tribute to Kevin Samuels. Those of you that don't know Kevin Samuels was one of the US-based YouTubers who is also happens to be an image consultant, but he was popularly known for his YouTube channel, whereby he gives a lot of relationship advice to women. Many of them find him to be extremely controversial because his execution sometimes was a little bit harsh. His core values was to basically ask the modern woman to say that do you have what it takes to get the man that you want? Do you have what it takes to get the man that you feel you deserve? And one of the controversial things he would probably ask the ladies is to rate themselves from 1 to 10. And you would ask them their dress size, you would ask them their weight, and begin to talk about how some of them would find it very difficult to find the kind of a man that they're looking for. He talks about the concept of a high-value man. High-value man is an established man who make a certain amount of money. And he talks about the fact that at a certain point, they require a certain type of a wife. They need a woman that has feminine qualities, not a woman that has a bit of masculine vibes, you know. And he talks about the fact that such men, they don't want women with kids. And he talks about the older you get as a woman, your value dwindles, your sexual market value, that's what he calls it, to be specific. But yeah, man, he was an interesting person. I didn't agree with everything he had to say though, but I can safely say almost 70% of the stuff that he would talk about, I also agreed with him. He was age 56, going to 57 at the time of his passing. Reports suggest that he had collapsed in his apartment. He was in the company of a lady who at that time called 911, and I think when paramedics went to his place, they took him. I'm not sure if he had passed on by the time he was dead on arrival, or he had passed on a bit later, but bottom line that at some point his mother did confirm that he had passed on. He's survived by a daughter, we do know that, but yeah, colorful person. Yeah, man, may he rest in peace. What I like about him, he started a very difficult conversation whereby we need to be honest with each other. We live in a world where it's easy for women to say what they want, but when the man starts talking about what he wants, suddenly it's the biggest crime in the world. But anyway, I think with that said, I think many of you that probably know Kevin Samuel will probably understand the video that I'm about to play. There's a video that I found on Facebook, which comes from a TikTok account called the Conversation Capital. It's a clip This lady was just talking about relationships and a lot of things, but it's 3 minutes long, so I'm gonna allow you to see the video, and you can go check it out on my Facebook page, Lungile Righteous Ndwalane. I did share it there, and then yeah, let me know what you think, and after playing it, I'll definitely tell you what I think, and based on some of the points that are gonna be discussed there.
Oh, you're not married because you're such a strong woman, because Onaldi Masters will be got a PhD, what kind of man, whatever. You mustn't be too clever. How men don't like those things. And for the longest time, I'll tell you that it did frustrate me. I was like, what the hell? He says the same thing, really. We teach women to shrink themselves, that long speech in You Wake Up Flawless, right? And she talks about, basically teaching women to shrink themselves. And I could relate to that thing, because my whole life it's been here. When you've got too much of an opinion, and it's not going to come in handy when it's time for you to get married. And I hate that when I actually started taking the advice, I started getting into successful relationships where I could tell this guy when you see and it can babes. Whereas younger Ursula would have been like, that's nonsense. Let me school you, actually. And thinking that, we would like laugh about it. About, oh, babe, that's, But the truth is, I'm yet to come across a guy who's actually that confident and comfortable in himself. To take man, it doesn't work like that. Actually, this is how it works. And a guy that's actually, so I can't help but agree with what you're saying, that men just don't like it.
And you also have to sort of remember the history that we come from as South Africans, right? Obviously, as a black society, we come from an environment where we're disadvantaged. And then there was this thing called affirmative action that was put into place. And what that meant basically was the fact that black women will be prioritized first, and a white man will be prioritized second, from a employment perspective.
Doesn't make sense, but yeah.
And as black women, they obviously took the opportunity. And my view is that we are realizing that in South Africa, black women tend to be more successful than men. There was actually a stat that was released that there are more black girls in varsity than there are black males.
And property
Yes, and yeah, there's a recent study that showed that black ladies are owning more and more property. We don't do that, right? We want to spend our money on alcohol, we want to spend our money on replacing the ladies, but ladies are pursuing their master's degrees, they're pursuing their studies, and that disconnect as well, where a woman becomes more empowered, sort of makes it look like we're not ready to actually deal with the fact that we're more successful.
What does empowering men look like? Or
Hello. This is your boy Delungza, coming to you live from the East Rand. Engakusho ngithi amatata tutetamini. Time tire utata bana. Just as promised, gonna be spending a couple of this episode really commemorating the legendary Kevin Samuels. That's why probably I have his theme song in the background, just to highlight some of the important things. I think one thing that is very important about Kevin Samuels, I think he started a very important conversation in our society. So Whether certain people received it well or some didn't, that's neither here nor there. But with the video that I've just shared, there are a couple of issues that we just have to go through that I find very interesting, particularly when it comes to the discussion of the black family, because many of us know that the black family is currently under threat. The black family, to a certain extent, is an endangered species, and that's because over the years there has been a systematic and there's been a strategic plan to bring divisions between the black man and the black women. These are things that we've seen before throughout history, whereby the divide and conquer strategy was previously used by the British colony to further pursue and colonize nations by breaking them into their ethnic groups so that they can start leading them through chiefs, because they know that once people are organized, when people are united, they're very difficult to colonize. So just to respond to some of the early parts that this lady, by the way, I did watch the whole clip. I think the channel is called Conversation Capital, if I'm not mistaken. I think there is something that I've always find interesting, especially when it comes to women, particularly black women, whereby women can be friends but still not like each other, or they can be friends or best friends but still compete with one another, which is something that is not really common amongst men. I think men is pretty straightforward. It's either we get along or we don't. I think for men there aren't any gray areas where I'm friends with you but I can't stand you. There's no such a thing with men. It's either we vibe, it's either we're vibing or we don't. There's no gray area. And the reason why I say that, it's because there seems to be this competitive energy that has infiltrated a lot of black women, whereby some have found themselves in a direct competition with black men. And it is something that is quite interesting, and it's something that is quite phenomenon when you try to look at what is actually causing that. You have to understand, first and foremost, one of the things I found to be a misconception in that discussion was that they presented a picture like a large portion of black women are successful, and that's not the truth. Black women, in terms of unemployment in South Africa, they are still the hardest hit. Black women, 60% of university students are women. Then men, it's around 40%. However, women, particularly black women, have the highest percentage of unemployment. I think there was a point where I saw that in quarter two, was it 2021 or 2022? 2021, there was a point where for black women it was almost around 42%. And these are some of the things that are very concerning. So therefore, in the broader scheme of things, a lot of black women are not doing as well as it is projected in that particular show. So in other words, you have a very selected group of successful black women who are dominating the discussions on relationships, because they seem to be the ones that are struggling to settle in relationships and get married. But the average black woman doesn't struggle with that because many of them are not subjected to these kind of issues of I earn more than a man, or I have more degrees than the guy. They are not subjected to all of those things. And they live life normally. We can argue if that is a good thing or a bad thing. The phenomenon of black women starting to be more successful, you have to understand that success has a honeymoon period. So typically any individual, any person that was previously not doing well, when they start to get into a position in life where suddenly they start doing well, they go through that phase. And some actually, when they go through that phase, it comes with a lot of quote unquote arrogance. It comes with a lot of things that where they don't understand that there's a bigger picture to being successful. The other interesting thing is that this whole situation of empowered women, blah, 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 it's only a problem to black people. Other racial groups, they don't have a problem with that. They're getting married, they're building families, life goes on, they're building wealth. And I think that for us, particularly millennials, a significant portion of millennials were raised by single parents. And unfortunately, more often than not, single parents tend to create children who will end up becoming single parents because a lot of children have been raised with the strategy or with the mindset to hate their fathers. And in some cases, the mother is not being totally honest as to why is it that the father is not in their life. Some, you find that the reason your father is not in your life is because, technically speaking, your father was a married man, and what the mother will do anything in her power to make herself look good. So